Hey guys, I'm Geoff Fienberg here for oddschecker.com/US, and we are breaking down week 15 in the National Football League from a DFS perspective. It's honestly incredible how fast the season has flown by, some of the hurdles that the league had to overcome. I'm certain there will be more down the stretch, but hey, it's the holiday season. It's week 15. We've made it here. Hopefully you've got some big things to play for. If not, that's what DFS is for. I'm in my home league playoff, but I'll still be making my DFS lineup and suggestions for sure. Starting off at quarterback. Again, I don't want to overthink it. You certainly don't need to load up a video to be told it. Maybe I could offer you some better tips down the board. But Patrick Mahomes at $7,900 in DraftKings, $8,900 in FanDuel is still a must play for me. He threw 3 interceptions last week and still had 400 yards and multiple touchdowns. It was the fewest passes he's thrown in 4 weeks, but he still threw the ball 34 times. His floor, no surprise, is literally insane. And when he gets going, there's no one like it on the planet. Again, I'm telling you nothing you don't know. Again, in case you need a reminder, pizza is really good. Without the turnovers, he would have had an even more passing attempts, which is hard to fathom. He also has 4 straight games with at least 4 rushing attempts. And this game with the Saints, I expect to be quite a bit more back and forth, even more passes for Mahomes. Anytime I'm getting 40-plus pass attempts for Mahomes, which is what I expect the game script to call for this week against the Saints, I want to roster him. I don't care the price. Mitchell Trubisky. Price matters with Mitch. $5,500 on DraftKings, $7,000 on FanDuel. It's scary to want to go back to the well with Trubisky just because he's had a couple good games in a row. But over the last 2, he has been completing his passes at 72%, friends, and has thrown for 267 yards, 7 TD passes in the last 3 weeks, and no fewer than 3 rush attempts per game in those last 3. The Vikings defense has gotten better, but they still struggle at corner considerably. At this price point, we could avoid some of the higher priced players. Another 250-yard game for Trubisky with the multiple touchdowns will pay off the price. I think he could be a breaker for a bit of the early slate, but I'm crazy enough to believe that. Running back. Again, not going to overthink the top selection because the price point works, and it's still the best play on the board. This is one of the best matchups on the board for one of the best players in the slate, bottom line. The Lions are terrible, and it's Derrick Henry, by the way. $9,500 in DraftKings, $10,200 on FanDuel. That's what we call paying the piper. The Lions are terrible and have given up a ton of fantasy points to the running back position this year. In fact, they've given up the second most fantasy points to running backs in the entire league. He's averaging 24 carries, 146 yards, and 1.5 touchdowns in his last 4 games. That literally seems to be the floor when breaking down Henry, friends. If you like narrative, Henry is now sort of needs that exact pace to get to 2,000 yards on the season, which would be fun for Henry and the Titans. I don't think it would be enough to get him into an MVP final vote discussion, but his name would certainly be popping around. Henry and the Titans, they're in a big playoff race. This matchup is simple for them. They're going to demolish the Lions, who will probably be without their starting quarterback. I don't expect them to score much. Just a feed fest for Henry. I'll pay the piper. I'll pay the price. Jonathan Taylor, $7,200 in DraftKings, $7,400 in FanDuel. A lot of us like Taylor last week, and I'm going to go back to the well this week. It seems like he's finally solidified himself as the lead role in that Indianapolis backfield, taking full advantage of the touches, coming off 3 impressive performances. This week he gets the Texans. And do you know who's worse than the Lions in terms of run defense, friends, and giving up fantasy points to running backs? It's them Texans. Houston Texans. Taylor gets a huge price bump, but it won't deter me from wanting to roster him pretty much everywhere. He's performing too well. This matchup is too good. Going to take a little inside baseball. I'm in my home league semis. Did I say that? Yeah, I am. Cook was obviously my first round pick. I own him. I own Nick Chubb, but I drafted Jonathan Taylor. We start 2 running backs. We don't have the flex. I'm honestly at the point where I'm debating Taylor and Chubb. I don't think I'll have the balls to swap out Chubb for Taylor, but I am absolutely smitten with what Taylor's done and what I expect him to do certainly this week. It's probably why I won't be able to roster on my fantasy team. He'll be DFS everywhere for me at this price point, Jonathan Taylor. Excuse me. Wide receiver, Brendan Ayuk. $6,300 on DraftKings, $6,900 on FanDuel. He may end up being a chalky wide receiver this week, but that doesn't make him a bad one, friends. He is absolutely too good to pass up at this price point. He'll be getting a ton of targets. Last 4-game target count, 10, 14, 9, 16. Turned 16 targets last week into 10 catches and 119 yards. Deebo Samuel will be missing this game with that hamstring injury. That could leave more opportunities for Ayuk. They are playing the Cowboys, who are 23rd in the league defending the pass per DVOA. He could be chalky, but he's still worth going to the well for, in my opinion. Scary Terry McLaurin, $6,600 on DK, $6,900 on FanDuel. The production has fallen off for Terry in the last couple of weeks. And I also do not like McLaurin as much if Alex Smith is unable to go. But I think this is an absolutely great spot for McLaurin, playing that Seattle defense, giving up the most fantasy points to YRs this year. Terry will get himself back on track, back to what we've been doing. I'm expecting that ceiling game or close to it, a game in which Seattle is favored in. This could lead to a lot more throwing from Washington potentially, but I think this game stays close. I think McLaurin gets his, and as bad as Seattle is against the pass, they're actually pretty decent against the run. So that will probably set up Washington to feel their best advantage to move the ball is through the air. So if Washington is going to score, it will be likely in the air via McLaurin. That's where I will be going. Tight end, $8,000, $8,500. That's right. Again, we will pay up Travis Kelce. He's priced like an elite YR, but that's because that's absolutely how he is playing. You can make a case, Patrick Kelce. I mean, I guess that's what you could call him. That's the combo. You can make the case Kelce is the best non-quarterback in the National Football League at the moment. Just such a dominant performer week in, week out. He leads the league in receiving yards and is miles better than any other tight end, period. Not going to try to overthink this. I like matching Kelce and Mahomes, and I'll figure out how to play down elsewhere. In a game that could be close, Mahomes will certainly lead on his guy Kelce. 4 straight games with 8 catches, 3 of those games over 100 and a touchdown. There isn't really much to argue against them. I probably even wrote more words in my notes than I had to. I don't need to sell anybody. I'll be going to the well. Lots of comboing up Kelce and Mahomes for that game. No doubt about it. Irv Smith. We're going to pay down a tight end for Irv Smith. I like Irv a lot this week. In his first game back from injury last week, Irv put in a good performance, 4 catches, 63 yards, and a touchdown. The Bears have given up the 4th most points to tight ends this year. There aren't really any paydown options other than Irv that get me too excited. So he may be one of the lowest priced guys I can get to. It is worrisome. The offense in Minnesota is funneled through Cook and the running game. But you see kind of on tape, last week Tampa did a really good job of holding Jefferson in check, and that created the opportunities for Irv Smith. I suspect now, at least in the passing game, controlling Jefferson is the priority for opponents, and hopefully Irv can do what he did last week for us. Let's find the end zone. Defense, special teams. The Washington football team. I almost did it. I didn't. Maybe I did it earlier, though, when talking about McLaurin. Oh, it'll be out of the system probably by next year. Washington, $2,600 on DraftKings, $4,200 on FanDuel. In my opinion, the absolute most egregious worst pricing of the week right here. I'm going to lock Washington in absolutely everywhere. They pressure at the 10th highest rate in the NFL. The Seahawks give up pressure at the 8th highest rate in the NFL. Washington's defense is very good and has scored double-digit points in 3 of the last 4 weeks. I love them at this price. I love this defense. That Washington front line, just ranking units across all positions across the entire league. That Washington front line would probably rank amongst the absolute top. What is happening in Washington? If they get a quarterback they trust to convert third downs, that team's going to be the team to watch in the coming years in that National Football Conference Eastern Division. Eagles, 2,500. We'll wrap this sucker up with the Eagles, 37 on FanDuel. Eagles coming off a big win against the Saints, and this week they get a matchup with the Cardinals and a banged-up Murray. Murray doesn't seem to be running much of late. He's clearly banged up. They're clearly protecting him. He's even not showing up on the injury report, which is annoying because it could give you the perception that he's healthy, but boy, oh boy, he is not. Eagles pressure at the 4th highest rate in the National Football League. Cardinals give up pressures at the 10th highest rate in the league. 2 defensive this week that put pressure at a high rate and are good pay down prices for me. Washington and Philadelphia, a couple of NFC East defenses I'm going to go to the well with there. I'm Geoff Fienberg. Thanks so much for taking in my Week 15 picks for oddschecker.com/US. Like, sub so these drop right into your feed, and comment. Tell me which DFS plays you like this week, which ones of mine you want to stay away from, which ones you want to join me with. Have a great weekend, friends. Holidays are here. Be safe. May the winners be ours.